With Planet Coaster 2 around the corner, I thought now would be a good time to talk about the projects of mine that haven't seen the light of day over my years of playing Planet Coaster. And given how many of those there are, if you guys make this video reach 100 likes, we could turn this into a series. Anyway, let's start with the first park, which is the most recent one I'd worked on prior to the announcement of Planet Coaster 2. Welcome to Arcania, a safe haven founded by Merlin himself for the magically able to practice any aspect of magic. Or at least that's what it would have been about if I'd finished it. This project, as you can see and hear, is inspired by Baldur's Gate 3 and a few more minor influences like the Ascendo stage of Tomorrowland 2023, Efteling, Diagon Alley at Universal Orlando, or even Silveret's Fantasy Valley for the entrance. Speaking of which, this entrance and the main street behind it are called Merlin's Gate. Conveniently, this is the single entrance and exit point for the city of Arcania, and therefore a village formed in front of the gate to facilitate cheaper commerce, much like Rivington in Baldur's Gate 3. In theme park terms, this is our entrance plaza, with a building suggesting there's a drawbridge in the place of our spawn tunnel, a lost and found and concierge building, a lost children building, toilets, a building for our ticket booths, and of course our entrance itself, Merlin's Gate. At the center of the plaza, you're greeted by a fountain with a statue of Arcania's current queen, Merlin's daughter, called Calopsia. She would have been one of the walk-around characters in the city using the Princess Amelie staff member, but unfortunately, it will never happen. I'm very much looking forward to use the new characters in immersive settings in Planet Coaster 2 though. When you arrive at the turnstiles, even the staff are greeting you in character as they're wearing armor. They are the guards to the only entrance to the city after all. And speaking of, this massive show building's facade on the outside of the park looks like the city walls to really make you feel like you're entering Arcania. Once the guards allow you in, you're welcomed by the main street. You can also enter the park from the smaller gates on each side of the bigger one, with turnstiles that lead you to two mini plazas. The one on the left has a toilet, and the one on the right has the guest relations building. Unfortunately, I didn't get to the point of building the park when I would have built the weenie that should have attracted your gaze towards the end of the street. It would have been the facade for Merlin's library, a shooting ride where you would have been an apprentice casting different spells. Think of it as an alternative to Hogwarts, but in Planet Coaster. Fortunately, the entire main street was done, full of facades and actual food and beverages unit like Boulangerie Lune, my obligatory bakery that I put in every solo park of mine where you can order pastries to go. There's also the Mixomancer Jester. Think of Mixomancy as this universe's mixology, otherwise known as the ability to make damn good cocktails. Merlin had a legendary jester who wasn't only excellent at his job, but also produced fantastic concoctions for Merlin's banquets and parties. When he passed away, this experimental bar was created and its owners sought to reproduce the jester's mixomancy through the science of alchemy. Do come try some of his drinks and bonbons, but drink responsibly. What am I saying? Of course you will! Other facades that are simply there for theming include the Flowery Cottage, the Silly Goose, or the Drat Shelter. The latter was supposed to house the hub for an Easter egg hunt to rescue drats around the park, but as you know, the park will not be finished and this fun idea unfortunately dies with it. Before arriving to the lake, the remains of the first city gates mark where the old city walls were before the city got expanded. On the left is, well, nothing, quite frankly, but the theming would have transitioned into a lush grove for the druids where an intimate multi-dimension coaster called Wild Shape would have transformed you into various animals that would have run and flown around the park. I'm happy I didn't put a lot of time into this idea because, as you all know, the Ultimax multi-dimension coaster is going to be in Planet Coaster 2, and that means I will be able to make functioning drop tracks and much more with this model in the future, much like the things I had planned for Wild Shape. On the right, we get to the Sleeping Seagull, which is our transition to the Port Noddle area. This place would have been home to a ride that would have had its queue line inside a submarine, inside which you would have boarded robotic arms that would have simulated a mini submarine ride to search for eldritch ruins at the bottom of the sea. As you can understand, this park's focus was very much on immersive experiences, which is why this was a very long building process of writing scripts and lore for every tiny detail. But don't worry, we're not done yet. We have one example of an immersive area that has been fully realized, and it's called Necromancy Alley. Necromancy Alley is an indoor area dedicated to all of the dark aspects of magic: fey witchcraft, diabolism, eldritch cults, magical creatures, and of course, as the name suggests, necromancy. The alley can be entered from the Merlin's Gate main street or Port Noddle, and is a great example to show you the ambitions I had with this park. We have immersive gift shops like a Hag's Bargain, where you can buy all sorts of pest pets and ingredients for hag curses, or the Gloomy Graveyard, a necromancer's shop where you can build a body, a grim take on the Build-A-Bear concept that allows you to build funny skeletons like Tiny Bones over here. You can also buy necromancy tomes like the ones our necromancer uses to make the dead rise from the earth of the adjacent graveyard. His own personal homegrown garden, if you will. But Yan, surely you can't have an unlimited supply of corpses to supply the business, I hear you ask. That's where you'd be wrong, my dear viewer. The graveyard is strategically placed in front of the bounty's end, whose bounty hunters never run out of bodies to dispose of. Call it convenient recycling. Other themed facades include the Sandman Inn, I'm sure you can figure out what's special about this one, or the Full Moon's Boon, a reference to werewolves of course. Near the Sandman Inn, you can also find this abandoned building where something wrong seems to have taken place, with tentacles growing out of the window and blood draining out of the door. Maybe the answer to what happened can be found in the sewers, but it would seem something, or someone, dug through the wall to reach something underneath the alley. The Eldritch Eye is the home of a cult to an eldritch being with a sacrificial altar in its center, and the remains of the body dragged out of the abandoned home above are scattered around the book, The Call of Cthulhu. It is a grim bar where you can buy beverages themed to blood and sacrifices so you can live like the occult society who built this place, but don't stay too long, they don't like visitors. All of these places are only here to provide themed entertainment to our guests to elevate their immersion into the dark and twisted fantasy of Necromancy Alley. But the main event resides in the home of Damien Debonair, Diabolist Extraordinaire, the House of Hell. Being the best kept building in all of the alley, the House of Hell is a place where one and all can learn about the 9 hells and devils and all of their lore for a price. Step inside, gaze upon the artifacts gathered by Debonair in the main hall. Then step into his office to discuss a trip to the real House of Hell, the one in Avernus. He leads you to a secret tunnel, hidden behind a bookcase that he dug to his family's crypt, and as you enter the crypt, it looks like he's magically teleported to an altar. He conjures a chair that moves on its own, and invites you to take a seat. Now, I've got to be honest with you, this ride is only half done, but I promise you this. What little you will see of the House of Hell is going to be unforgettable. And voila! This is all I've done on Arcania. To be honest, it feels really good to finally be able to show you 6 months of hard work that would have taken far longer if I had continued. If you enjoyed this video on one of my abandoned projects, make sure to gently tap the like button, because at 100 likes I'm doing another video on another unfinished project. And do subscribe, that way you won't miss the next one or any other video of mine. If you'd like to talk about this project, you can do so in the comments or by joining my Discord server, the Yan HQ, with the link in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, this has been Yan, and I'll see you in the next one.